But basically, one of the biggest news items of the week is that Jack Dorsey got on Nostr and funded Nostr with 14 Bitcoin, which is like a lot of money. I mean, a lot of Bitcoin for us in the Satoshi generation.
Satoshi generation, I like that.
Yeah, where full Bitcoins, I don't know, but we stack sats. But Jack has stacked Bitcoin as a billionaire, and he donated 14 Bitcoin to Nostr. He just gave it, as far as I understand, he just sent it straight to Fiat Joff, and Fiat Joff wrote up like how he plans to divvy it out and stuff. I assume you're a little deeper on this because this is your top story.
Yeah. So basically, I think we've already kind of seen where it's come. I mean, obviously, I had William this week on Thriller, so we were talking about all of this. So definitely check that out. But besides that, like, we just seen you see it here at Plub Lab. There's just the guys like working on Nostr. People like working on Nostr. I like writing about Nostr. Like it's become a thing. That's just a whole grassroots vibe to it. Very reminiscent to Bitcoin, but the big things around it is that there's something special about Nostr and how it can be used as micro apps, and that was kind of what our discussion was this week around that. And Nostr just it's this open protocol building that's happened, and it's maybe we're harkening back to the early days of the web where it's just becoming this, and at some point you just kind of have to look at the writing on the wall and realize like this is becoming, I'm not going to use that word, the E word, or the inevitable and the I word. Yeah, it's not that, but there is something when you start seeing a group of people do all this stuff for free. Like there's something to that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what's taking place. I think also the reason I wanted to talk to William this past week was because of the whole chat GPT-3 thing, and we were able to discuss that. And I think this is where I think when you're doing a startup or you're doing a project, it's good to have these pushes every few months, every quarter. But it's good to throw something new, a new feature out to your users, and it gets them re-engaged. And I think Nostr November was a lot of building, but when he implemented that Chat GPT 3 thing inside of Damus, it like re-engaged a lot of us who maybe had fell asleep for a few weeks on Nostr. And I think that with all the other proof of work that was out there already, it's just kind of taken over. And it's good to see Jack, Jack's a real one, man. Like who spends their Bitcoin on an open source protocol? Like it's crazy, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really cool effort, and it's nice to see Nostr get funded. I mean, I've been watching Nostr since the beginning. Super Testnet introduced it to me, and who's been a huge Nostr bull for a long time. And I think really where it excels is like developer UX is excellent. It's just like dead simple protocol, very, very, very simple to comprehend. How it works, especially if you have familiarity with like a public key cryptography, and like from there, it's kind of dead simple. Any web dev can get into it, and then you can layer on really complicated things. And it's reminiscent of me to something like Bitcoin, where the base layer people will deride it as like simple and dumb and doesn't really do anything. But you can build layers on top of these things, and that's where they really become the products that you want them to be. And it's cool. It's really cool to see someone like Jack. I mean, I always imagine there's like a silo around people like Jack, and they don't really get ever the truth, or like what's actually going on the ground, or it trickles up kind of late. It has to be like huge, massive waves, but somehow someone got to him with regard to Nostr, and it was cool. I mean, I think he even put like Nostr in his bio.
Yeah, and I also think too, it's just it's an everybody kind of community where you have to get the developers working on it, and then you have to get that has to build over time, but then you also need like the media to get behind it and write about it to like explain why it's so great to work on. Then you have to do the workshops. Then there has to be like everybody has to come together in the community and all move forward together and keep it about the protocol for it to kind of advance. And that's literally what happened with Nostr. It's the same thing. It's like everybody contributed in some way or another to seeing it get funding. And you can go through all of this and it tells you exactly what these where it's going to get allocated. There's bounties, there's community prizes, there's even documentation, and then micro grants, of course. And then it was cool too because there's a lot of people that really worked hard on this, and a lot. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, Keyan, under thank yous, like it was cool to see that Fiat Joff had allocated like 20 million sats to the people that had done all the heavy lifting. And don't get me wrong, there's even more people he could have added to that list, but these were the main pioneers of this whole kind of open protocol movement for Nostr. Yeah.
So Fiat Joff wrote this Google Doc kind of laying out how he intends to spend the sats. And so he has some really high level things that he wants to see that he's going to allocate 200 million sats to, and 40 bounties of 5 million sats. A bunch of stuff that he wants to see get done, things that we all kind of anticipate Nostr needs. Additional, and a bunch of additional things, smaller specific tasks, that kind of stuff. And then, as Car was saying, there was an allocation to existing contributors just as like a thank you. It has like a funny note at the bottom. This is not a payment for your work of love because that is priceless. It is just so your efforts don't go without mention. It is also terrible because there were many other valuable contributions that were not mentioned here, and life is sad, is what
yeah. Said. No, the fact that he even had this at the end was very thoughtful, I thought.
Yeah, it closed it up nice, and I'm excited to see what comes of the grant.
So when Nostr on Stacker.News?
When you build it into it, I get that all the time, and the project is open source. If someone wants to make a concrete proposal for how Nostr would integrate with Stacker.News, at this point, I'd be more than willing to entertain it and have a back and forth on it. We've had a few people suggest things in passing, like maybe you just publish everything that gets posted on Stacker.News onto Nostr. But it's like I need the private keys of people who want to post from Stacker.News to Nostr, and like how does all that work? If someone could figure that out, that'd be great. I wouldn't mind like duplicating the things that are on Stacker.News there. I eventually want to pursue Nostr as possibly the protocol that Stacker.News is decentralized on, and so in that case, it will be natively integrated with it. But maybe there's like an in-between step for us. So
yeah, maybe we could throw out there. I mean, I'd be willing to go half on like $1 million bounty to get that process started, if you would.
Yeah, I'm down.
That'd be cool.
I'm down.
I get posted on Stacker.News later, and then let's see what kind of. Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, we can see what we can get done. This was like, I think this preceded Jack's investment. Or
I said $1 million. I meant million sad bounty. Yeah. I just realized when I was like, wait.
Did you say $1 million?
I think I said $1 million. I don't have.
I measure everything in sats.
So. I only have Bitcoin.
Yeah. Jack's what like spearheaded this whole thing was Jack wrote this long post. I think it started out as a tweet thread, but he like turned it into like a longer form post on Twitter's like, I don't know, newsletter product or whatever. But he basically describes like why he thinks centralized social media is broken, having been in charge of what many people consider like the most valuable online social media platform in terms of like free speech, town square. These are the kind of things you hear people say with regard to Twitter, and so he's kind of saying here, it's hard. It was hard to more or less. You can kind of read between the lines. He was saying there was on some level corporate and government control at Twitter, which is not conducive necessarily to free speech. The original authors can get their content removed without being like that happened voluntarily. And then having done moderation at scale, he says the best way to kind of mitigate any conflicts of interest or bias or anything in moderating is to instead give algorithmic choice and allow people to choose from a variety of algorithms. And I thought that was pretty cool. But it's a pretty lengthy post, but it's all like super relevant and well written. And I think Blue Sky and App Protocol and Nostr are all attempts to kind of figure this out.
Well, I remember in, what was it, 2021 when he went to the Bitcoin conference, and there was people yelling in the audience about like all the things that Twitter was doing. And then he said, I will fix this. I remember him specifically saying, I will, we're getting to that. And then Blue Sky came out and that got announced, but maybe they're seeing something behind the scenes that they could implement Nostr at some sort. And maybe he's, that's why he's trying to facilitate the growth in both areas. But if there's anybody that knows this problem better than most, it's him, right? Like who else out there in the world would understand that better than him? Yeah, man, it's really bullish for Nostr if the fact that Jack, funded it.
Yeah, definitely bullish for Nostr. Bullish for just open internet stuff to have someone with big bags like Jack. It
also makes me wonder, like, where's Ev Williams and where's these other guys behind the scenes that, like, why aren't they getting any of the blame, like, as far as, like, where Twitter started? Like, it's not all Jack's fault. Like, wasn't it like
it's not about where Twitter started. It's about where it ended up. And Jack was CEO for the last, like, decade at Twitter. So he takes most responsibility. He willingly takes responsibility for where Twitter ended up. And I think he says in here that it was an activist investor that really started to mess things up at Twitter.
Oh wow! So it just kind of tells you, like, watch who you're taking investment from.
Yeah, he said, "This is my fault alone, as I completely gave up pushing for them when an activist entered our stock in 2020." So that's kind of, that's a public company. You can get people maybe who you don't like owning a large votable section of your company.
Yeah, that Jesse Powell talked about that on McCormick's podcast, in somewhat like that, about stuff like that. So